Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ATL Falcons UK show. Football is back. We are back. We are missing Mark because, unfortunately, the band life has overtaken his Mondays at the moment in time. So he's at rehearsals with his band. But I'm pretty sure I'd be doing the same if I was a superstar, rock star as well. So you're stuck with Liam, Cal, and I for tonight. And we also have someone from the Steelers podcast jumping on to talk ball with us partway through the show so we can preview game week 1. If you can hear any rustling about in the background, that's my fault. I timed my tea wrong. So the missus is very nicely running about in the background, still finishing off tea. So ignore that, pretend it's not there. And if you see me with any roast potatoes, then ignore that as well, because I can't resist. So, lads, football is back. It is game week 1. We play in 6 days' time. It's basically 5 days now because of the time that it is. How are we feeling, Liam? You ready?
Yes, looking forward to it. Bit of excitement, obviously, around this season compared to some of the previous seasons. So, that always adds to the how much I'm looking forward to it when I think we've actually got a shot of doing something decent. So yeah, I think the first game is always a bit of an unknown for every team, but it's always, for me, it's always the most exciting game as well. Like it's the one everybody's up for and you want to start fast. So bring it on. Looking forward to it. I'll be there ready to watch. Will
you be watching the first game of the season, not including ours? Will you be watching on, is it Thursday night?
Is it like, well, what time will it be on? It'll be
a stupid time.
In the middle of the night. I'll be watching it on the game before to the next morning. That'll be my plan. That's usually what I do with the games. Yeah.
Cal, how are you feeling? I know we've been rattling for a while now about getting the game back, so it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's gone. I think we say this every year. It's gone very quick, to be fair. I feel like
speak for yourself.
I think it's gone quicker than usual. I think because of the excitement for this season ahead, I think it's pushed us through with all like the good news of signings, new coach, new team, quarterbacking, who's obviously should be the one. Just makes it a lot more exciting going into a season and thinking, do I get to see a positive record for once? I hope so, and I think the rest of the fan base do as well. But no, looking forward to it. 6 days to go, and then this time in 6 days we'll be watching and hopefully winning.
Well, at least some of us are excited. I'm going to jump in the comments a second. Got a nice little rise up, plain, short, simple. I like it. I love it. I'm not even previewing all of these before I put them up, so that is a little bit risky now I think about it, because I just clicked it before I'd even finished reading it. But mint people from Georgia joining us is so good when we are a very, very niche fan base over here. We actually ran the statistics the other day, and only 10% of our followers that have interacted in the last month are actually from the UK. So I think we've been adopted by you lot over the pond, which is really, really good. Well, really good, or we're letting the side down, one or the other. So gist for tonight is we're going to do a little game-by-game rundown. We're not going to go too deep into it. We're just going to do our wins and losses so we can kind of get a bearing of where us three think we're going to be at the end of the season and if we make playoffs. And then after that, whether it's before or after we get the Steelers fella on, we're going to do our MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Special Teams Player of the Year, and all that jazz. But we'll fly through and we won't dig too deep into every single topic. We'll save the game-by-game rundown for a little while, because I'd rather talk about players first, and then when we've got the Steelers on, we can talk about the games and what we think's coming for the season. So, hard to tell. Early doors, a lot of new players in the roster. Liam, who is your MVP or predicted MVP?
Predicted MVP. I was deliberating for a while, but I'm going to go with Judon. He's going to be my pick.
Okay, fair enough. That's,
I think,
probably not unpopular, But it's a big call.
It's a big call for with the team he plays with, because we're not known for doing a whole lot of pass rushing.
No.
But I think based on the defense as a whole and how that's sort of shaping up, we've got some improvement in that secondary, obviously the safeties. So, and we've got more numbers on that defensive line now, and I think that might give him a little bit more leeway with Grady obviously inside.
Yeah.
To get some good sack numbers that for me could be enough for an MVP this season.
I think it'll be a popular call based on the player that he is, but I think it's a bold call based on the fact that we're not, like you said then, we're not known for performing at that level in that position. No. So if he does, then he'll very thoroughly deserve it. I hope you're all keeping note of these boys, because we're going to look back at the end of the season.
I have written them down.
Go on, Cal, enlighten us. Who are you going for?
It's probably the most obvious one, but I'm going to go with Cousins, just because I think there's a lot of pressure on him, and it's obviously a big fan base, and we've not had a quarterback or steady quarterback for the last few years.
Yeah.
And I think with him coming off a big injury, he wants to prove it. This is his hometown where he's from and that. Big expectations, but I think he will pull us through, and he'll pull us through to the playoffs at least. Yeah. So, but there is big, it's because of the last few years without a proper quarterback, you could say there is obviously big expectations.
Oh, unbelievably, yeah.
If he stays fit, I feel like he'll be popping that ball around with all those receivers. Well, not all the receivers, maybe lack of some receivers, but you never know, they can spring on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, the expectations of a quarterback for us at the moment in time are pretty low. So a mid-season would look very good from what we've seen for the last few years, which will probably contribute to that a little bit. Yeah. We've got some in the comments, but I'll drop mine first to give everyone else a chance to put theirs in. I was sat and I was torn between Bijan or London. Bijan, because I think he'll be utilised better this season. Not that he was utilised badly, but he wasn't utilised as much as he could have been. And I think we didn't give him the plays that he should have always had. And then I was leaning towards London because he is your main man now. He's obviously the clear and obvious wide receiver one. He was last year anyway, but it's a little bit different this year. I feel like his understudies on paper might not be quite as notable, and therefore I feel like he's going to be pretty significant in getting the plays. Although it could work out the other way, he could get targeted, he could get covered so often that he doesn't get the targets but I just feel like it's one of them too. I'll decide on the spot and I'll go for London because I feel like a lot of people will go for Bijan. I feel like he'll be a popular shout because we've already seen what he can do. He's already been rated in the top 5 running backs in the league by basically everyone. And that's from a completely neutral standpoint. So I think his expectations will be higher. Whereas London, I think if you're not a Falcons fan, you probably don't appreciate him as much as you could do. Yeah. So I'll go for Bijan. Let's have a look in the comments.
Changed it now. You went London.
I meant London. I'm sticking to London. I said it first. It's because I read. I'll show you in a minute. So we've got another Kirk Cousins. It's Paul's fault. Look here. He says Bijan, and I read that comment as I was saying my second one. That's why. Right. I'll bounce back off this very, very quickly. Offensive player of the year. I'm going to go for London again because he's my MVP, so I can't really change on that.
No.
Liam, any change for your offensive because you picked the other side of the field?
Yeah. So I've gone for Bijan. Similar reasons for you said. I think although he was good last season, I think I said it during last season. I don't actually think he was as good as he could have been. I think he, I'm going to say disappointed because that's definitely the wrong word, but I feel like he had more to give. Yeah. And I think with the sort of like the offense we've got now, different coordinator, maybe we'll see obviously utilize him in a little bit of a different way. And I think this was it's it's a tricky one, but I think like last year we saw like with the Bucks, for example, when Baker came in, he threw the ball a lot to his running back, and obviously Rashad White had like an unbelievable season because of those sort of like check downs. And I feel like that sometimes happens when a new quarterback comes in because they're just a little bit disconnected from the receivers sometimes, where they've not had that established connection for years. Obviously, somebody like Cousins will probably build that quicker than like a rookie or somebody else. But I feel like just because you've not got that established connection, you might not quite know what London or Pitts is going to do, and that might cause him to check down to Bijan maybe a little bit more than he normally would as a quarterback. And I think that might enhance Bijan's receiving yards this season. I'm going to estimate that he'll go 200 yards more receiving this season than last season.
Okay, that's bold, but it does make perfect sense. It's like your safe route, isn't it? Almost.
I think he will just. I think he'll just. Even though he's a better downfield passer than like Ridder was, I think Cousins has got the ability to find people downfield.
Yeah,
I think he might just use Bijan a little bit more, and I think just because of some of the design plays that we have, Bijan will get more yards when he does get the ball in hand. That's what I'm going for.
I agree. That's a very good call.
Yeah, I think it helps with, obviously, when you're changing quarterbacks. We had 2 quarterbacks last year. When you're changing both quarterbacks, even though he's just a running back or he does receive the ball at times, it's a different player behind him all the time who's the main man. So I think just having one quarterback throughout the year, which most teams obviously do, will definitely help him.
Without a doubt. And somebody that actually knows the game as well. No disrespect to Ridder there, but obviously it was early doors in his career. You have an adjustment period regardless of your quality, don't you? So it's one of those. We've got someone jumping in. Good evening. Or it's actually like 3:00 in Atlanta at the minute. So anyone that's watching from over the pond, you should probably be in work. I have no idea why you're watching, but thank you very much. Right. Defensive. Oh, wait, did you say yours then, Cal? Or did I? Oh, no.
Well, mine would be
Cousins. So
I'm going to say Cousins, but I want a massive shout out to Pitts because I feel like everyone wants this to work. Like, everyone wants it. We
really do.
We know what he can do with, obviously, when Matt Ryan was quarterback. So with another steady quarterback behind him, I feel like this is definitely going to be easier.
I hope so. I mean, we were lucky enough to see his first touchdown, weren't we? So, right, we'll move on to the other side of the field. Mine's a little bit of a weird one and not weird in terms of the player, but weird in terms of the position. I'm going to go Grady Jarrett. And even though statistically that position isn't necessarily very influential, he's coming into year 10. He's coming off the back of his only ever career injury, really, to that extent anyway, where he missed all season. And he's just our consistent factor.
Yeah.
And I just think that even though statistically he might not pull in obviously he's not going to pull in interceptions, he's not going to pull in all the sacks, and he's not going to get all those numbers. But I just think he'll bring that stability that everybody else around him that we've brought in. It'll just allow them to play. We have Steelers Nation Australia in the chat. We've got some Steelers fans coming in, getting ready for the game preview coming up soon. That's daunting because that means we're just giving away all of our tips and tricks. So, Cal, who are you going for?
I'm going to go for AJ Terrell. I feel like first few years he was top of the top class. Last year, I still feel like he was solid last year, but obviously with a new scheme coming in, brand new, I think this is definitely going to be his year where he outshines a lot of people, doesn't give hard in the yardage. His interceptions will pick up this year without a doubt. We know what he can do. Like I said, he did still have a solid year last year, but like this year he will explode with that new contract as well. He knows.
I'm going to say big contract, that isn't it?
He knows he's getting paid a lot. I don't know. It doesn't always work out like that, but he knows what he can do. We know what he can do. But his numbers will rack up this year without a doubt.
Yeah, no, I'd take that one. And I suppose that now he's got a partner and a line in front of him as well. He's been exposed last year based on the fact that we just weren't steady and stable at all.
No, yeah.
So now that touch wood and on paper he should be covered and only have to do his job.
You got less pressure, haven't you? So like if you're defensive line does, not saying it's not always going to stop the ball or whatever, but if it does 50% better than last year, every time the ball comes to him, he's not getting battered every single time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Liam, yours is presumably going to be the same.
Up.
Yeah. I'll let you do a little special shout out to someone else if you want, though, just to sweeten it.
And I think one of the safeties is or both of the safeties are probably going to hopefully perform pretty well for us and could be up there with that defensive MVP. But obviously, I'm going to go with Judon because if I've got him as MVP, kind of got to. But yeah, safety group will be my next level. That's going to stand out, hopefully.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to do this one now because I think it might be a little bit short and sweet. I was going to go to special teams. In fact, no, we won't. We'll stick to it. So special teams, I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to say Koo. He's had a really poor preseason. It was one of those. He missed 4, 5 in total, but 4 in one game. Stuff happens. He'll be fine. He'll be steady. I've got no concerns whatsoever. So I'm just going to be nice and simple with that one. But I do feel like there is potential for one of you to say a returner or something like that. But I'm not going to put words into your mouths.
I'll probably just say the same, to be fair.
Short and sweet. That's fair enough. Liam?
The main returner this year, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going with a returner. Based on our depth chart, what we predicted to do it, Avery Williams will do the kick returns and not the punt returns.
Because
I think Ray's going to do those if the depth chart is correct. Based on that, I think Avery has he did a lot of that in college. He did a lot of returning. He looks pretty good at doing it. I think he's only going to get a little bit better at it. So I'm going with him. Let's have some big exciting returns to the house. That'd be nice.
Especially with the new rules, a little bit more space, a little bit of an adjustment period. You never know. Bang on, Paul. We aren't going to be punting much, so can't be a punter, can it? Right, I can see Simon is behind the stage. However, we've only got one more to wrap up with, so I'm going to go Rookie of the Year. However, boys, your options are actually very, very limited for this one because realistically, unless there's an injury, Penix isn't going to play very much. Trice is injured and out for the season. So there's only really of note Rook, however many rows you want to put on his name. I suppose Jace McClellan was a decent shout. Zion Logo only got into the practice team. So we are a little bit limited, but based on the sack that he got in preseason, I'm going to go for Rook. I don't know how many snaps he'll get. In the depth chart, he's deep, but I would have gone for Trice, but obviously Trice is out for the season, so I'm going to go for a big sack man instead. Liam?
I've gone with, I guess, probably a little bit of a surprise, but based on sort of pure numbers, I'm going to go with Casey Washington. On the basis that we haven't got a lot of guys to throw to due to obviously more going down. Like he can play a little bit. Again, I think he could be held back by the actual number of targets he gets because technically we've got 3, maybe even 4 guys ahead of him. But if we lose one more guy, it could happen. Or people are not performing, he could move up the chart. And I think if he does, I'm going to predict that he'll take his chance and be our best rookie.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Cal, anything?
Sort of nothing to add to that. I think it's just probably
it's pretty limited.
Because we have the injuries and Penix obviously sitting behind, but both the two you picked probably definitely up there. They'll have the chances in the games. They'll play a few snaps, and that's when they've got to take the chance, haven't they? Like what Lee said, if he takes his chances where he gets a few yards and that, he can easily go from the 5th to the 2nd or 3rd if he's performing. You never know what can happen in later round.
No, exactly. We're only talking early days at the moment, aren't we? We don't know how the season pans out, so we will see. But on that note, we will bring in Simon from UK Steelers Pod. It's going to be a little bit of a firing line, if I'm completely honest. So this is a little bit brutal. Yes, mate. Nice to meet you.
How you doing, fellas?
On.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's actually worked out that there's only 3 of us because 4 on 1 just doesn't seem fair. So one of us was going to drop off just to.
It wouldn't be the first time. Hey, listen, I'm really close to the guys over at the Roar of the Lions podcast, and I've been on that show a few times, and that's always like a 4 or 5 on 1. So, hey, I don't mind being the one.
You never know. You might out-argue us. We have no idea yet. So let's see how it goes. So what we're going to do with Simon is we're going to kind of preview game week 1 a little bit. Obviously, we don't know too much about the Steelers other than what we see on socials. So we're going to ask him a few little bits of questions, who we should look out for, how he feels about the season and all of that jazz. So to get us started, I'll get the ball rolling. Wilson and, let's just say Wilson. How are you feeling about your quarterback situation at the moment in time?
Yeah, it's funny, man. And it's funny you say that, you maybe don't know a lot about the Steelers, just what you see on social media, because I think that's so interesting in terms of where the Steelers seem to be in the national media and where other fans seem to be with them. And where we were a few months ago, it seems that narrative has really sunk because of the preseason. And we're all kind of weighing up, how much do you put into that? But to answer your question, I mean, Russell Wilson, the jury's out, man. Let's wait and see how this goes. I mean, do any of us really know if he's still got the juice? I don't know that we've seen any. I mean, we haven't seen him in training camp barely at all. So, no. I mean, we've really not seen since Denver. And, we've seen the arguments from Denver fans about, who was to blame there. And that was just a messy situation. So, hey, I'm all for giving Russ a chance. But, hey, man, he's got a short leash.
He has indeed. And I think, you might not have seen this, but before Fields was all over the show and we knew where he'd gone and everything, he was one of my top shouts for our starting quarterback position. Before I knew Kirk was a possibility and we had the funds for that and everything, I was not all in on Fields, but I was like, that's not a bad appointment, and it's not even a stopgap because he still has more potential than he's been given. Anybody at the Bears franchise and anywhere over that way and everything, it just doesn't work out for anyone. It's just you just rinse and repeat. So that's not a shock at all.
A few of the guys on our podcast felt that way about Fields before we signed Russell Wilson. So we were kind of in the same boat as you this offseason, and we, to be honest, Russell Wilson wasn't really on my radar. I was kind of in on Fields too. So exactly. It's kind of a bit bizarre that he's ended up coming in, but as the backup. But Justin Fields not a hyper accurate quarterback as we know necessarily. He's got a lot of tools. Needs to clean a few things up, and Mike Tomlin's not a guy who stands for turnovers. So. No. I never quite understood how that would fit.
I did see a very interesting quote from Tomlin's last week in the build-up to our game, saying that, yes, Wilson's our starter, but Raheem, you should expect to see Fields because there's too much talent to sit there. And I was like, what kind of plays are you going to be playing? Or how often are you going to be rotating your quarterback to be able to play both consistently at the same time? But
Mike Tomlin was the guy who, if I don't know how long you guys have been watching the NFL, but like a few years ago, he was the guy who really embraced the 2-point attempt for a period, for about a season there. He was really going for 2-pointers at unpredictable times just to kind of test how that played with coaches and change games. So I'm interested to see if it happens. But we've had guys like Josh Dobbs on the roster for a long time, and they have not ran. We've been calling for play. Get him on the, because we're terrible in the red zone, and we have been at least under our previous offensive coordinator.
Sounds familiar.
He was signing toilet seats at training camp last season, and now he's gone. But so I was saying why, and my friend Gav, who I do the podcast with, was really on this train saying, why is Josh Dobbs not on the 2-yard line, the 2-point package, running some of these plays? And now we'll see Justin Fields with a real talent with his legs if they do that.
Absolutely. I'm going to pop up a few comments because you do actually have some supporters in the chat. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We're being ambushed here. I mean, admittedly, it's one page, so I'm not giving you too much credit.
Hey, Steelers Nation Australia, shout out. What time is it over there, man?
I have no idea. Oh, God. Wow. Okay. I have no idea what that one is. I didn't mean to click on that one, but
I think that might have been like a dream. So that might have been a dream that Jeremy had.
That might have been. God, we're getting every nation in here at the moment in time. Germany, Australia, America. But weirdly, we're probably the only British ones here. So, Liam, I believe you have a couple of questions lined up as well. So I'll let you take the reins if you want.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask about sort of what you think of the running back situation. Really, it's a bit of an enigma about what they're sort of like going to do. Obviously, you'd expect sort of Najee maybe still to be the main guy, but also the fact that they really pretty much said that they're not really committing to him, which we know that maybe he will probably drop off a bit, and Warren will get increased snaps, I would imagine, compared to last year, because he looked pretty good when he got them. Obviously, you've got CPAT from that we know very well, who can still very, very serviceable in certain situations and can certainly play. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what you think your sort of plan might be there and how you'll utilize those guys and whether Najee will still actually get a good look in.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, fans of our podcast will know that Jaylen Warren, we are the number one fans of Jaylen Warren on that show. Our favorite sound drop is the I Love Jaylen Warren sound drop from Cal Brand. He is the number one guy in Pittsburgh right now. I feel like Juju was that guy for a while after Ben left, and the kind of guy that a team just kind of rallies around, the fan base kind of rallies around. Warren is that guy right now. He really kind of stands out as like a hard-nosed guy. He doesn't touch a football field without a helmet on. You won't see him. You won't see his face on the sideline. He does things like he's like a really different kind of guy, and he runs the ball. I mean, it's like thunder and lightning with these guys. They're very different style runners, Not to say Warren is in any way a kind of a smaller, lighter scat back. Don't put that on him, because I'm sure you've seen the highlights of Jaylen Warren carrying 3 guys on his back. But he is that kind of faster, more lightning, running to the outside kind of guy who can break away for a long, explosive run. And we were missing those in Pittsburgh for so long. Even with the great backs we had, going back to like Le'Veon Bell, the greatest runner for 20 yards you'll ever see, but he very rarely bursts an explosive run. But Jaylen Warren has been bringing that back to Pittsburgh. But that's not to say Najee's not going to feature. I think, I understand why you do this, because it's so hard to keep track of like what the situation is in every position room, in every, all 32 teams across the NFL. But I know it's easy to want to say like, who's RB1, who's RB2. I really think that this is a plan to use these guys in a very similar usage. It very much, like I say, thunder and lightning. One guy does one thing really well. You want to grind out a game. You want to, you're 3 points ahead. You want to start grinding out the clocks with 6 minutes to go. Najee Harris is going to come out and he's going to do that for you. But Jaylen Warren's going to hit you some great explosive runs and he's going to give you some angry runs. So, and Cordero Patterson, as you said, I'm excited to see what he can do as well.
Yeah,
I hope he gets on the field.
I think he will see. So, I mean, you won't know, but I've invested interest in Najee because I'm a big Bama fan. So, I always track where some of our sort of like higher picks go.
Najee's had a weird kind of start to his career in Pittsburgh, right? Because if you ask, a lot of fans almost don't know how to feel with him. Like, we've had such a poor offensive line in the time that he's been here. But I don't think in any way he's been a poor player. I mean, I think if you actually watch him run, he seems to like get a lot out of every opportunity he's given. But so often he's been stopped 2 yards short of the line in the past, and so it doesn't look all that on the stat line. So I'm hoping with this new Arthur Smith offense, obviously getting the new coordinator in Pittsburgh, we see something.
Yeah, I mean, he's got over 1,000 yards every season, and his touchdown numbers aren't horrendous. So I think he's done a good job. But I said coming out of college, I think one of the issues that he may have, and this is kind of Alabama's fault, is that they essentially ran him into the ground a little bit there, and he took a lot of hits during college, and running back's that position where they're a little bit fragile, and I felt like he might not have a long career in the NFL based on what I'd seen him go through at college, and I don't know if that's starting to show already with him. It seems a bit early, but
I don't know if you've seen that in his play, but it might go into the thinking in terms of not picking up that option, and do you take a first round running back? That's already kind of a risk, and then you just get that first contract out of them. So
I think so, and obviously Warren's stepping up has probably gone well. Actually, we'll keep the guy that we see the longevity with and go from there, which I think is the smart move. But I think Najee's got a lot of stick for maybe not performing as well as he could have done. But when you look at his numbers, I don't think they're that bad. You look at his performances, I don't think they're that bad. I think he's been up there with a lot of other guys, and maybe just has got a bit short end of the stick really with the situation he's in.
Yeah. He's that really complicated situation in the NFL where like he's not quite like a star, but he's not quite a bust, and he came in he got drafted so high. If he'd been drafted in the 3rd round, we'd all be talking about him like he was a great pick. So it's a complicated one, but a good player and a great guy, it seems like. So
Just coming off the back of that a little bit, I'll let Liam jump back in a moment. But you mentioned a name that we don't say on this podcast anymore for semi-obvious reasons. What's your opinion on Smith so far? Obviously, pre-season's a little bit flawed, isn't it? Because you're not always using your starters and everybody's trying to work out playbooks and stuff like that. But what's your impression or expectations of him?
Yeah, man. After preseason last season, where we went unbeaten, we've stopped paying attention to preseason this year. We've totally sold out on it. So yeah, I'm with you. Arthur Smith, though, I totally. When I said that, wasn't even thinking about that connection in my brain. But we're all excited, I think, because what we've been referring to, I've been kind of saying it, referring it back to politics a little bit. It feels like there's an adult in the room, in the Pittsburgh offensive coordinator room again, right? And listen, I'm sure you guys have got a lot of opinions about Arthur Smith, from your time as having him as head coach. But Matt Canada was that was a real slog to get through. Our offensive coordinator before Arthur Smith, for anyone that doesn't know, that was a real slog to get through those years with him. The Steelers really seem to just be intent on promoting from within for these kind of coordinator spots for a while. And we weren't really getting, it didn't feel like a lot of jazz back from that. So I don't know. At the minute, I think he's benefiting from not being named Matt Canada is what I would say. And hopefully the run game starts to improve. And that's exactly what this team needs, because you look at where we were last season, the defense was so good. If we'd had a competent offense, who knows where we could have been. So that's the plan.
Well, to be fair, we have semi-credited him in saying that maybe taking a step back away from a head coach role where he can really just focus on one aspect of the game might benefit him a little bit. I don't know if he had too much on board and he was overwhelmed and there was too many moving parts for him at that time. Not saying he could never do it again, but at that time, and we weren't in the best position financially. He was stuck with 2 years where we basically had £2 to spend. So you can't really hit him for that. But saying that, in the same breath, we also saw a playbook that literally had 3 plays in it. So we hope it improves for you, just not in game week 1. That's all.
I feel your frustration, because that's what it was like with Matt Canada. It was like we felt so predictable. We would line up and we almost knew what was. It's like, if we know what we're going to run, I'll tell you who else knows. It's the defense from the other side of the ball. So it would get really frustrating, and I can imagine that's probably how it was getting. Having those stars, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson last year. And having so little, sort of seemingly at least from the outside looking in, to look back and say, hey, look at these great players did. But hopefully, listen, we haven't got that embarrassment of riches right now. Hopefully he can sort of like zoom back in, target on the run game, good honest work, blue collar stuff, and just get us over the line, just get us in field goal range, and we'll win games 20-17. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, you take it, don't you? You do not care at all. It doesn't matter how you win. We've got a few little bits from Steelers Nation Australia here, which is we'll have to take your word for that one, I'm afraid. And I didn't get it up, but a little bit further up, it's 5:30 in the morning over there in Australia. So we're doing the show at 8:30. Atlanta are watching it at 3:30 in the afternoon, and we've got a 5:30 in the morning. And I can't for the life of me remember if that's forwards or back. It's forwards, isn't it? So they're tomorrow.
Yeah, forwards, yeah.
Right.
They already know who's what. No.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. Liam, do you have one specifically about Tomlin's whilst we're on coaches?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of a controversial question because he's a bit of an icon. But Mike Tomlin, how much longer does he get if he doesn't start winning things? Mainly a deeper playoff. I know obviously Super Bowls are, everyone's aspirations. Like we know what it's like, but not obviously 2008 was the Super Bowl, I think. He's obviously made the playoffs quite a number of seasons. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it's been great. A few early-ish exits and a few late-ish exits, but I know the Steelers have big expectations with the team that they are and the history that they've got and the Super Bowls that they've won. He's obviously been amazing. He's not had a losing season, and there's no doubt he's a fantastic coach. But in a sort of like your view and the Steelers' general view, do you think he's on a bit of a clock with is there a call for change and a different approach than he's been given? Or is he sort of, are we locked in with him forever?
There's been lingering insurgencies, I would say, around the Pittsburgh sort of media zone for many, many years that have kind of been questioning Mike Tomlin and, his game time decisions and various things about the way he comports himself and the team. And, we've always poo-pooed those. I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach and the Steelers, are always in contention. And I think where we found ourselves, because you referenced it, obviously since the Super Bowl, we've been in the playoffs many times. We haven't had a playoff win in what I can't. Someone will probably correct me in the chat, but it's like the last 7 years or something. And that's starting to become a stat now that's getting brought up every. It's like Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in this many years, that many years. We missed the playoffs, and that adds another year, and then you have that Cleveland game that you might remember with Marquise Pouncey and Ben sitting on the bench as Marquise Pouncey's last game. That was a disaster, losing to Baker Mayfield in the wild card round. It's complicated because there's not many teams like this right now where we've been very in contention. We're always around there. We always say we're kind of like in the 6, 7, 8 spot in the AFC to kind of be competing for maybe that wildcard spot or competing for our division. Obviously a tough division, so that can only happen every so often, but there always seems to be something that is holding us up. And what I've been saying lately to just kind of, hold caution is that I think what happened is that Ben was not the kind of guy. It wasn't like Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. We didn't bring anyone in with it. Not that maybe that's a bad example because I don't think Aaron Rodgers was particularly hospitable, but Ben wasn't that guy. Ben wasn't the guy that wanted any. When Mason Rudolph was drafted in the 3rd round that year, he made it verbally. He was like, I don't have a problem with the guy, but I'm not pleased with this pick. Like, this should have been a guy to help my offense get to a Super Bowl. And he was always like that. And he was not the guy. He had no interest in kind of developing the next guy. And, for better or worse, you can have that conversation about Ben and, what that means. But it does mean that we had this like kind of delay. And it meant that we were kind of forced in that 2020 draft to take Kenny Pickett. Hold your hands up. I mean, we did it. Oh, yeah, okay, it's our fault. But, what were we going to do? I mean, if you'd asked me, I would have said take Brock Purdy at the time. But it was him or what's his name? He went to the Titans, who just got traded, Sam Howell. It was a nightmare of a draft if you needed a QB. And I think it's really delayed us because we kind of had that year where we're like not really sure about Kenny Pickett. Then you have that second year of like, oh, he's done a little bit, and we had some good moments. That Memorial game in Oakland, I think about, was just a great final drive, and he had like a lot of those final drives. I think last season, to start the season or the season before, he was like leading the league in game-winning drives. It was really weird because his play didn't look great, but he just kept coming back on these like final 4th quarter drives because we were so close in games. But to answer your question anyway, sorry, because I know I do go on long diatribes. I'm like the UK's version of Dave Damashek, if you know it. So I do think there's a call for Tomlin's head if he doesn't win a playoff game this year, and that's only going to get louder. The question is when that kind of ticks over with an ownership like the Rooneys, and when, personally, I think it would be a kind of a Tomlin chooses to step away situation. Now, whether or not he's kind of politely nudged, that's another question. But I think that'll be a few years away after the contract got signed this season.
Yeah, I would expect it would be, but we've been told, we've been saying we're more of a, if we don't make the playoffs, we're making moves. But obviously the Steelers make the playoffs fairly consistently. So obviously the last couple of years it's been a tough division. But
and if we don't, we're at least we're like one. It's 8 and 9, 9 and 8. It's always like kind of, it's never a disaster season. So what happens if we get 4 wins? That's the question.
Yeah, so we're obviously in a different position where we've had obviously fairly recent playoff runs, but we're not consistently making playoff runs anyway. So the expectation is a little bit of a step down with our coaches, but obviously Steelers, with the history of success, brings a thirst for more. That's just the way it is. It's like we say with the Patriots fans, like even though they're in an absolute shit show position, they still want wins because they're just the Patriots, and the Patriots want wins. And I imagine Steelers for me are always sort of like in that similar talk where because they've had wins, they want more wins and expect something from their team consistently, and they're getting something from their team consistently. But it's when does that become not enough?
Yeah, exactly. You need to find a way to sort of have these quick, not rebuilds, but these quick like kind of build up, kind of like the Packers are doing. That I really say the Packers are the model that I would like to follow. I think they're doing it right. I don't like things like the Rams where they go out and spend a ton of free agency money and try and pump it all in. I know that worked for them and great stuff, but we've had conversations about that. I don't love it. And it's the same with the Patriots. You know, you see what, I mean, obviously it's a bit different situation, but you see what happens when a dynasty like that fizzles out and it doesn't end well. And you're going to be presented with 3, 4, 5, who knows? It'd be interesting to see what happens to them in the next few years. But you're left with those years of kind of desolate, you know, wasteland stuff. And I don't want that for the Steelers. So it's complicated.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It really is. Like you said, we're a little bit polarized at the moment in time. You're down, but not, if that makes sense, just down by your standards. We're just always down, so it doesn't really matter. Not seen a winning season for 6 years now. I don't think
we've never seen a winning season. That's how bad.
When was the last one? Was that the Super Bowl year?
No, the season after
18.
The playoff in the NFC Championship.
Yeah. Too long. Too long is the answer. The short answer to that question.
Feels like that could be turned around, though. You know, I mean, this offense looks good, man. Looks good.
That's what we're hoping for this season, and that'll tie in nicely to this bit. So, game week 1, we have you. We don't really know what to expect. New coach, a lot of new players. Draft picks probably won't contribute too much in this.
Yeah.
How are you feeling facing us? We've probably taken preseason a little bit like you. So, not a single starter played a single snap.
Yeah.
We lost all 3 games. And Raheem literally word for word and pretty much contradicts a lot, but pretty much said, as long as I'm here, we will never participate in preseason, which is fair enough, each to their own. I'm not saying I agree with it, but we've not had the opportunity to see any of our new players at all so far. So how are you feeling? Are you... I don't know.
Hey, I like that. Lay your stamp on it, man. Listen, I don't know what I think about the preseason stuff, but if that's the way you feel, then go out there and try it, and we'll see if the Falcons do look rusty in this game. But man, it's funny. We haven't done our podcast yet this week. We'll do it on Wednesday probably. So you asking me now is the first time I've been asked, like, who do I think is going to win this game? I've not even really thought about it. And you know what? I'm kind of like you in that I really don't know what to expect out of this Steelers team. I think it's been so vanilla in the preseason. I'll tell you what, though, the defense, when it's been on the field, because the first team defense has been out on the field, has looked great. I mean, it looks like the D-lines took a step up. Keanu Benton is a guy to watch for sure on this D-line, starting at nose tackle next to Cam Hayward in his sophomore season. He looks awesome, man. We call ourselves in the podcast, me and Mac, the Badger Boys, because Nick Herbig is my boy, Wisconsin Badger. Keanu Benton is his boy, Wisconsin Badger. And I'll tell you who else is a Wisconsin Badger to look out for, TJ Watt, who's going to be coming off the edge. Hungry for Kirk Cousins' Achilles. No, I only kid. I hope he's okay.
It's all right. Penix is sat there waiting because he's going to get snapped sooner or later. It may be week 1.
TJ Watt week 1 might be the best thing that ever happened to Atlanta. That decision got made for you. I like Kirk Cousins. Listen, I hope he's healthy all season and does well for you guys. But yeah, so to answer your question, I really don't know what to expect. I think the defense is going to look great, but then on the other side, I don't know what to expect out of your offense. Are they going to come out looking rusty? I think that's what, we're hoping for. We're hoping that offense is a complicated game, and there's a lot of players on your side of the ball that look hyper talented, but are they all going to be clued in? Are the dots going to sort of tie together? And is our defense going to be ready to take advantage? If not, I think our front 7 will. Our linebacking core looks really nice this season. Really sort of developed that, bringing in Patrick Queen. Keep a lookout for him. Joey Porter Jr. obviously is probably going to be on Drake London for a lot of the game. So hopefully, he can score an early pick this season for us.
I don't know what you're on about. That's definitely not happening.
Minkah Fitzpatrick, of course, on the back layer. So I think what I say about the Steelers is we've got kind of like, it's not super deep, I think, in the secondary. A cornerback, not super deep. Deontay Johnson was traded for Dante Jackson from the Panthers. Try saying that 10 times fast. So we don't really know what to expect from cornerback 2 in the room, and then behind them is very thin. So we're really expecting a lot from Joey Porter Jr. But we do have a star at like every layer of that defense. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, stars. Yeah. Patrick Queen now star, Joey Porter Jr. star in the making, and Minkah Fitzpatrick star. So this defense is definitely going to be one. I think it'll be a low scoring game. I did pick one ESPN game, and I did go 21 Falcons, 17 Steelers, but I'm a cynic.
Okay, fair enough. Well, just to throw some controversy into the fan base, the chaps from Australia.
That's a better fan.
There we go. Yeah. There had to be a little bit of positivity somewhere for you. But then, coming off the back of that, we've got Simmons picking off Russ, so it's all going off now.
That I imagine we've probably struck a bit of fear into most teams with our safety combination that we've put together. That's something I imagine Russ is probably a little bit wary of, because them two guys are lethal back there. But yeah, I think it could be a game of whoever's defense wins out. Yeah, I think the offenses are probably both a little bit unknown, both good up against what looks like on paper strong defenses, sort of in different areas. Whichever defense comes out on top and just plays that little bit better, I think will win this game.
What's your run defense looking like right now? Because I think it's got to be our game plan right now, is to really come out and hammer the ball.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've obviously we drafted quite a few guys on that that D line in right, and in the linebacker core, obviously one of them went down, but and we've obviously signed it was more of a pass rusher than a run stopper, but obviously we signed Judon, who we're hoping is our sack guy, which we've not had literally forever. So we've added on that D line a little bit. We've got obviously Grady Jarrett, as I'm sure you'll know all about, who can do a little bit of both. He's a great run stopper, and obviously can rush a little bit as well. They're a physical group, I think, in terms of the run stopping a lot, but a little bit unknown, I think, in some areas. So I think it's going to be a question of whether or not they can gel enough instantly in week one to stop an obvious game plan. But if they do, I think we've got the talent to be a mid-table run-stopping team this year, I think.
Yeah. And if you guys... sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say it's not the most stunning of compliments to our they've got enough talent to be a mid-table. Oh, lovely. Yeah. Thanks for that. Perfect.
I think the Steelers have been really clear with their game plan. They're going to want to run the ball, and they're going if you start to kind of pat the box, you start to slow down, then George Pickens is going to be going over the top, and he's the only guy there. So if you've got someone that can take George Pickens 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, you might be in luck down the field.
That's what I imagine. That's probably going to be our plan. Is going to be AJ will track Pickens because he's always the stellar guy at corner, and I imagine on top of that, Jesse Bates will be watching him like a hawk. So that's probably got to be our game plan.
What I will say is look out for Pat Fryermuth. Who'd had a really down season last year, just in terms of numbers. Just the offense was not built around him. It just, it was a complete mess. That guy can move. If he runs up the seam, if you look at him the season before, especially if you've got guys maybe double teaming George Pickens and bringing guys down in the run game, it really opens up that space in the middle of the defense, and he can run straight through that. So
it's very interesting actually, because we're sort of like there's definitely a lot of similarities of what we're looking at within the two teams, because you've got tight end who obviously you've seen perform but then kind of dropped off, and you don't really know what you're going to get from him this season. We've got Kyle Pitts, who we've seen perform, dropped off, and we don't know what we're going to get from him this season.
Really similar,
we're in a similar position. But them tight ends could be a game changer for either team on the offense. We're hoping Kyle Pitts is the Kyle Pitts that everybody thought we were getting this season, but we don't know.
Has he at least looked like Kit, like from your perspective, like on a play-to-play basis, like you watch him, are you saying like, wow, that's a guy that moves different, and he's just given the opportunity?
Last season,
I think for the first 2 years when we had Matt Ryan as well, it definitely helped, and he did look like that guy. Like, he only had one touchdown that year, but I think he hit 1,000 yards. But last year he did get a few comments on him because he looked. Don't know if he was injured or he looked slightly lazy at times. It was pointed out quite a lot. I don't know if that was just an injury or just the whole scheme of basically.
I think
he was recovering. So apparently we're going to see the first fit Kyle Pitts for 18 months. But you never know, do you?
Fittest he's been in 18 months.
Here we go again. I think he was. I know he probably won't admit to this kind of attitude, but I think with Ridder's sort of play and Heineke, like I think he lost the belief in that offense, and I think he was 80%, 90% at most on his route running, because he was like I wish we could run anywhere. This guy's not going to get the ball to me.
Yeah,
That's not a good attitude to have. But at the same time, if he believes in Cousins getting the ball to him and he willing to put 100% in, and he's fit as he's ever been, that should mean we're going to see production from him. And if he's not getting the ball this season, as if he's not getting much targets, I would be willing to say that Pitts is the problem and not anything else, because Kirk Cousins is a tried and tested quarterback. He can find guys. He's accurate. He's got deep ball. He's got every pass you could ask for as a tight end who can run like Pitts has. If he's not going for Pitts, especially with a wide receiver group being average with the injuries we've got, we've got obviously Drake London's pretty good, but outside of that, bit of unknown, not that much talent.
Very similar to us, really, where Pitts should be your kind of wide receiver too, like Fryman kind of should be our wide receiver too. Very similar situation.
Yeah. So I would say that he's got a lot to prove this season for us as Pitts, and if he's open, Cousins will find him. So let's see if he can actually get open like he claims he's going to.
Yeah, and we can't cover tight ends. That's always been our problem. we play that. We play that 3-4 defense. So like those guys are rushing off the edge, and if they're asking TJ Watt to drop back and cover tight end, it's just a nightmare, and it happens every season. It costs us in games in memoriam, but I guess they think it's worth it because TJ Watt gets to run off the edge quite a lot. So we shall see.
Well, Simon, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. You've actually removed confidence away from me. I thought we were going to batter you, to be completely honest, and I don't feel quite as good about it now. I'm also reading stats in the comments that Mike Tomlin is 4-0 against the Falcons. Steelers v Falcons head-to-head record is 15-2 to the Steelers. Apparently, we're getting shouts of Van Jefferson stepping up, but I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah, Van Jefferson is being spoke about as the wide receiver too for the Steelers, so keep an eye out. Yeah,
very interesting. But it's been a pleasure. Would you like to plug anything? I assume you want to plug your podcast. We have tagged you, but we will tag you after as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, UK Steelers podcast available everywhere. Check it out. We talk a lot of kind of like the Around the NFL podcast. We base it on, so we talk a lot of crap as well as Steelers and general NFL stuff. So yeah, check out.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. As we're carrying on the show, I will not get a chance to say thank you backstage, but I will message you.
No worries.
So when I boot you out, you are done for. That's it. You're out on your own.
Out of existence. It's funny, actually. Once you boot me out of here, I actually cease to exist. I'm just an AI construct.
There we go. That'll do for me. One less Steelers fan for the weekend. Let's go.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it.
Go
Steelers.
Speak to you after game week 1. See you later. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
And that is us done with the Steelers. Thank you very much for Simon for joining us and everyone that's been in the comments, namely Steelers Nation Australia, because you guys have been bang at it at 5:30 in the morning, which is crazy. So back to Falcons business. We've got 2 more little orders of business. I was going to do Coach of the Year, and then we'll do our wins and losses, and then we are golden, plain sailing. Coach of the Year is a little bit of a funny one because there's a ton of contributing factors and things like that. So it's each to their own. But Liam, do you want to take that one to start with?
Yeah, I'm going with Jimmy Blake on the basis that we have a pretty strong defense on paper. We've got that safety group, got pass rusher now, or hopefully a very good pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see hopefully sort of a top 15, top 10 defense, maybe in terms of numbers. And I think that would be enough for him to be sort of our coach of the year. I think it'd be the offensive coordinator. Obviously, we got a change there as well, which is another area where we could excel.
Yeah.
But I feel like on balance, offense versus defense, I rate our defense in terms of just on personnel a little bit higher at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So I'm just going to absolutely disregard everything you've just said because I was going to go for Zach Robinson. So offensive coordinator. Just because I think he's coming in to a roster and he's been gifted a quarterback, a very, very experienced quarterback that's played all over the league, played for years. And then in front of that, he's got an offensive line that's pretty solid, like pretty good on its day. And then hopefully I'm expecting an upturn in the use of all the tools that it's got. So like you said, you're looking at Bijan. We keep overlooking as well. You've got Tyler. Tyler's an unbelievable running back in his own right, just in a completely different style. So he'll end up getting plenty of snaps. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not sold on the entire depth of the quarterback room, the wide receiver room. Sorry. I still feel like we're a little bit shallow, and I hope I'm wrong. And if I am, then I'll be very, very happy about it because it'll be for that reason. But I just feel like, kind of like Simon just said then, your top person in every position is very, very good. You've got a top quarterback, you've got a top wide receiver, you've got a top running back. If Kyle Pitts steps up, you've got a really, really good tight end. And I just feel like one of each of them with a quarterback that knows what he's actually doing. Not too much disrespect to Ridder. I just feel like it's a perfect scenario to walk into to put your own stamp on it, really. So I'm going to go Zach Robinson.
Yeah.
Cal, any differences or?
Well,
not many coaches, is there? So
I'll go for the special teams just because of the new Marquise.
Yeah.
Just
Williams.
because of obviously the new kickoff. Coup having obviously, I know it was only pre-season, but last year I think it was slightly lower last year with Coup. But with the new kickoff especially, to see what we'll try. I think obviously it's new to the league. A lot of teams might just boot it through and just finish, like, don't even take the chance. But
yeah,
they're like special teams to get far in, to get even to the playoffs. There's always trick plays that we do in special teams and etc. with kickoffs and all that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. See if we can get a kickoff return, which would be good.
It'd be a bonus, wouldn't it?
It'd be a bonus, especially I don't think we got one last year, but obviously they're very rare. But I'm going to go with him anyway, just because it is a major part of obviously the game as well. But we'll just see.
Lovely. Right, we're going to go on to our wins and losses. We're going to do them pretty quick fire. I don't want a justification for every single game, but I think it is the best way of getting your actual wins and losses for the season, because it's very easy for us to sit here and say, 10 wins. Yeah, but tell me where we're getting the 10 wins. So I'm going to read the game, win, loss, tiny little, like any specific reason, win, loss, blah, 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 as we go down. So we get an actual representation of everyone's thingies. So I'm just going to pop them up now, but I'm going to be honest, I think I'm too ambitious because I've just ticked and crossed to all of my things, and we've already won the Super Bowl, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we of course start with the Steelers, and I'm going for a win. Simon's thrown me off a little bit, I'm not going to lie, but I just think we're the better team at the moment in time. I think we're going to come out firing. I think we've got weapons. I'm a little bit concerned about their quarterback situation for their sake, so I just think that's us. Liam?
Yeah, I've got us on a win there at home.
Nice.
I think we're just probably close game, but I think we'll edge it.
Take that. Cal, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a win as well. I think obviously the first game of the season, I think with it being at home, like Liam said, it will definitely help. Obviously, it's the first time we've sold all the season tickets in so many years. So I feel like positive fan base behind them. Good start, big win on Sunday.
Love that. We then head to Philly to play the Eagles, which for us is a Monday night into Tuesday morning game, which is absolutely horrendous, by the way. But we'll come to that later. Unfortunately, I've got this one as a loss. It's very early in the season, but I've got this as a loss. I just think they're a really good team. And I love Jalen Hurts. And I think he gets, I think some people, I see people saying he's overrated. I actually think he's underrated, but that's just me. Liam?
Yeah, I've got a loss there. I think the just overall personnel's pretty strong. And Lincoln Financial Field's a horrible place to play away from home.
Yeah.
Not an easy game. I think we'll be competitive, but I think we might just fall short there, I think.
Yeah, it's a fair point in the comments, though. Missing Kels will have a very different look. That's true. That is true. He's been a staple there for what feels like a lifetime. Yeah. So you never know, really. Cal, what are you going for?
Yeah, it's going to be a loss on this one. I think, like, with the being away, but being away at a hostile stadium, it's a hostile place to go. And I think if this was, and I think because we are a pretty much brand new team or new offense, new everything. If this was further down, if it was like the 10th or 11th game and was doing well, I probably would go for a win then. But I feel like if it is the second game and it's the first away one and being there, it will be a loss.
No,
but like
Liam
said, it'll be. I think like every game will be competitive. I can't see be any blowouts or anything like that.
Yeah, no, love that. Okay, so we move on to KC. I'm gonna be honest, boys. Got us down for another loss. I just think they're so good. They're probably going to go a long way into the playoffs again, if not to the Super Bowl. They're a very, very good team. We're, like we've literally just said for both of those other games, we're still very young in our development of this roster. And I just think that game comes too early in the season. So I've gone for a loss. Liam?
Yeah, I've got a loss there as well. It's the Chiefs, isn't it? Like they just find it, even with some of the roster still being weaker in some areas, and everyone talks about players dropping off and stuff. They just seem to find a way. I would have fancied us a little bit more if it was like week 1, some reason maybe
just
a little bit cold, but
back off pre-season, not many snaps in them, and
but week 3, I just think that they might have got a little bit of the games together by then and might just be a little bit strong for us on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, fair enough. Cal?
Yeah, loss again, but
lovely.
Well, a very close game. I feel like a bit like Liam said with if it was the first week, I'd be able to make it more even. Because KC they always start quite slow as well, and I'm sort of glad we're actually playing them in the third week compared to like the 14th or 15th when they're
rolling.
So I feel like it'll be a close game. I think it'll be like 3 points in it, and I feel like we can take them to the wire, but I think they'll just pip us.
Yeah, fair enough. We then move over to the Aints, and I'm going to be honest, boys, to shortcut this a little bit, I've actually got us steamroller in the entire division. I've got us going 6-0 in the division. And I might be a little bit ambitious there, but I've stuck to it now. I've said it. I've noted it down, so it's happening. So I've got a win against the Saints. Liam?
I've got a win. I think, it'll be, again, it's another competitive game, but that's the home game, isn't it? So it's always competitive between those two teams, but I think, head to head, roster to roster, I think we should have enough to beat those.
Yeah, fair enough. Cal?
Yeah, I'm the same. Big win. I feel they are usually close, but I feel like they'll start slow. Obviously, if we're marking ours down, we'll be 1 and 2 by the time we go into that game. But I think we'll beat them comfortably. I feel like they deserve a fucking battering at the moment.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
The last few years, I feel like they deserve a battering. So
it's been a while.
Like if we do end up obviously losing the second and third game, if they're both close games as well, and you are playing top teams, I reckon we could see them roll.
100%. Then we move on to the Bucks again. I've gone for a win. That is at home again. So Liam?
Yeah, I've got a win there based on the fact that it's at home. We'll have a little bit of a high coming out of the Saints game. I think, again, that'll be another. I do think every divisional game with those two teams, I think Panthers a little bit separate, but those two teams I think will be close. I think the Bucks will be the second best team in the division after us, I think, this year in my prediction. But yeah, I think we'll take them in the home game.
Nice. Cal?
Yeah, win as well. I think with it being at home, and if you beat the Saints at the start of the week, because it's a Thursday night, isn't it? I think. So you have
Thursday night and Friday morning, yeah.
So you have 2 divisional games in a week, and I feel like 2 wins, definitely.
Yeah. And not only is it 2 in a week, we go over to the Panthers straight after that as well, away. I've gone for another win. I just think they're in the mud at the moment in time, and I hope that stays as the case. But I think I'm probably undervaluing them a little bit. I just think that even in this division, they're still the worst team on paper in the division at the moment in time. Liam?
Yeah, I think will beat the Panthers. They've just not got the draft capital and things to improve because of what they gave away. So they're going to be a slow burner in terms of coming back up the other side. So I think this season, next season, I think we should be better than those in both games.
Lovely. Cal?
Yeah, another win, obviously 3. But yeah, if you win 3 divisional games in a row, that would be the fan base would be on a high, wouldn't it? After that week and a half,
They would indeed.
But, I feel like the Panthers, especially in a way, I do feel like it'd be closer than it should be.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't have the best record there in the last few years. Or even against the Panthers, I feel like we always beat them once and they always beat us.
Yeah.
Even when they've had poor seasons, we've had slightly better seasons. But yeah, another win.
Okay. At this point, so somehow we've all gone for the same results and outcomes at this point. It'd leave us on 4-2, 6 games deep. And then we head out to Atlanta, the 3 of us, and a group of other UK fans. We will be heading out to Atlanta to watch us play against the Seahawks. If I do not say win for this, if you do not both say win for this, you're uninvited. You're not coming. It's not okay. We have to go out there and we have to win. I'm not sitting on a plane. I'm not sitting on a train to London for 3 or 4 hours and then flying for 10 hours and then traveling to a hotel to watch a loss. It's not happening. We're winning that game and it's going to be an absolute blitz. So Liam and Cal, go ahead, give me your answers, but I hope that it's the same as mine.
Definitely the same.
Yeah, I've got to win on that one.
That one's a staple.
And I don't care how we win. It could be the worst game of football ever.
We could win 3-0.
Give me 3-0. I'll take it. Take it right now. Because that'll be
right now. Lovely. Right. Just because that we're getting pretty deep into the schedule, we won't give too much background on anymore now. So we play the Bucks again, but it's away at the Bucks this time. I am again going to go for a win. This would, however, be one that I'd sit on the fence about. So I could be lulled into thinking that one could be a loss, but I'm in a confident mood, so I'm going to go for a win for that one as well. Liam?
I've got a loss on that one.
Okay. I hope you're all keeping track of these because I'm only keeping track of my own.
Yeah, I've got mine. Again, I think the Bucks game, Saints games will be tight. The away game, I think Bucks will be decent, if not. I don't think they'll be great, but I think they'll be decent, and I think that might be just a game where we have a little bit of a mid-season sort of lull. Yeah, I think so. And we might just get pipped in that game.
That's fair enough. Cal?
Yeah, that's going to be a loss, I think, because of being away.
Yeah.
I've got to add some losses in there. Like, I don't.
Yeah, no, you do. I've been, like I said,
I feel like I think a few weeks ago I said 10-7, and now I'm like, there's a lot of wins here. So I feel like it's a place there. I don't feel
to shortcut mine. To shortcut mine, I've put too many wins, and I know we have because I know we aren't getting this record. But I'm looking game for game, thinking, why can't we beat all of them? So okay, fair enough. Then we play the Cowboys. I'm on the fence about the Cowboys a little bit as well.
That's at home, isn't it?
It's at home, yeah. But I think we beat the Cowboys. I think we'd beat them either way, but I think it'll be a very, very close game because they're in a little bit of a weird transitional period as well. And they're a little bit of an intriguing team at the moment, but I think win. Liam?
I've got a loss against the Cowboys. I think they'll be sort of in some good form at that point in the season. Usually the Cowboys are, for me, either they can sometimes start a little bit slow or they can't start fast, but then they tend to tail at the end of the season when it kind of matters. That's when the Cowboys tend to sort of fade a little bit. And I think at this point, I think we'll be seeing the Cowboys are going to win it all, Cowboys, when they're on fine form. And I think we might come up against a solid team at that point in the season. Yeah. I think they might beat us.
Fair enough. Cal?
Yeah, it's going to be a loss. And obviously that was the other game that, obviously, it was either that or the Seahawks, weren't it? So I will take a Seahawks winning. and then lose against Cal.
Yeah, no, I'd take that as well. I'd sacrifice one. I'd sacrifice seeing a victory in person for a loss later in the season. Fair enough. Then we're away at the Saints. So this one's interesting because by your two standards, I feel like this is a really hard game. And I was going to put a loss, but I've been a fool and put a win again. But based on your two's last few games, you could, in theory, have us on for 3 losses on the bounce, which would be absolutely chaotic at that point in the season. Liam, what have you got us for?
I've got us as a win.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we'll have that mid-season wobble, and we'll come out against the Saints with an attitude of the fans where we're maybe a bit low at that point because we've just come off 2 losses and everyone thinking, oh, we're going away at the Saints, so we'll probably lose again. I think that's when we'll step it back up. And actually, I'm actually going to predict that we'll beat them by more points in that game than we will in our home game.
Nice. That's a bold one. That'll be a good clip if it comes back around. Lovely. Cal, what have you got?
Yeah, I've got to go for a win. I think we'll do the double over them this year.
Nice. Love that. It's been a while, hasn't it?
So definitely win for that one.
Lovely. Then we've got a nice little back.
Just to add in, we'll be there in February as well, so we're just going to get used to it.
Be there. We'll have the Super Bowl ourselves. We'll be like. Then we have a nice little bye week, and then we play the Chargers, and I think we spank the Chargers.
We've got the Broncos, haven't we, before the bye week, have we?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Completely skipped that. I think we spanked the Broncos as well. That's why. So I've got win-win.
Yeah, I've got win on that one.
Broncos, then Chargers.
I thought you was on Broncos and a bye week. Broncos, I've got win. And Chargers, I've got win as well.
Nice. Cal?
Yeah, I've got 2 wins as well. But now I'm looking at my wins and I'm thinking I still need 3 losses from somewhere, and I don't know where they're coming from yet.
Yeah. We move on to the Vikings, and we've got Raiders after that. I've got win against the Vikings, loss against the Raiders.
So have I.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the other way. I think we'll beat the Raiders, but I think we'll lose against the Vikings, and I don't think
losing against his old team though.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of them where it'll be such a close game, but the pressure is mine.
Yeah, I get that.
Can handle pressure in that, and they're not even a great team. Obviously, they've not. Who's their quarterback this year?
Exactly. Because what do you mean the Vikings?
Well, I feel like it's one of them.
JJ McCarthy's injured, isn't he?
Yeah. It's one of them teams where we should win, but you always have a loss where we should have beat them and we got beat. So
that's the exact reason why I've gone for a loss against the Raiders. Is a game on paper that we should win.
Gardner Minshew, the man himself.
I think we'll be like. I think we'll be on a little bit of a high still at this point after wins. They've got Minshew or O'Connell, whoever is going to start.
Yeah.
They're not that strong on paper, but I just think they'll be one of them where they'll just when you look at it on paper, it's such a Falcons game to lose.
Well, that was going to be exactly my point. So someone's just commented, why are we all picking us to lose against the Raiders? Because no matter how well we perform this season, we're still the Atlanta Falcons. And we still have to ruin fans' weekends sooner or later. And I just think that'll be one of the games that'll happen.
Yeah, that game, we'll go into that game thinking like it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Raiders a week, they've got nobody, and they'll just go and they'll beat us and we'll perform absolutely terribly. That's just my prediction in that game.
Fair enough.
Or it could be like Carl said, it could be the Vikings where we do that and switch it with the Raiders. I think one of them 2 games will have a mini meltdown.
Yeah. And then there's 3 more games left. Sorry, you said yours then, Cal, or did I just completely ignore you?
No, I did.
I thought so. I thought we all got tangled up then. We've got 3 more left, so I'm going to run through them all. So we've got Giants, Washington, and Cardinals again. I've got us losing to the Giants randomly. Again, I think that's just a random one. And then I think we beat Washington. I said Cardinals. I obviously meant I think we lose to the Giants, beat Washington, and beat the Panthers, which would leave my season on 13-4, which is higher than I thought it would be, to be completely honest with you. But here we are.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go beat the Giants, lose against Washington, but then beat the Panthers. Whilst we've already won the division by then, so it'll be 11.
Fair enough. Good point.
Before I said 10-6 the other week, and to be fair, I've just gone off this now. I've been looking. I looked last week. I was like, there's 10-6. I still think wins our division anyway.
There's 17 games now, though, mate.
Yeah, I've just miscounted. Yeah.
I was going to say, we're not playing someone.
11-6. Fucking hell.
There we go. There we go. That's still good. That's high. We've still not seen a winning season.
Oh yeah, but even like I said, 10-7 wins the division. So, but like I say, with that Washington loss would be a bit like the Vikings one, where by then we're already on 10 wins, so it's a bit like we could have already won it, or you need another win to win it.
Yeah, you know where you're at in the division. You know, you don't. If you need a win to win the division, you don't lose that game. Whereas if you're already up there and you're hovering, you might dip a little bit or whatever. Liam, what have you got for those last three?
I've got win.
Oh, love that.
Which
okay.
I think I could see us slipping one up for one of those games, but I'd hate us to lose to the Giants just because I just think they'll be a little bit all over the place again.
I agree.
The Commanders, I think, would be, if we're going to slip up, that could be the game. But again, on paper, we should beat them. Depends how obviously Jaden Daniels is playing as a rookie. If he's absolutely awesome, then we might struggle. If he's still sort of being a rookie and not doing that well, I think we should come out on top. And then I think the Panthers, they'll have nothing to play for at that point, and they'll obviously have a go at us because it's a divisional game. But I just don't think
but they'll be giving snaps to all sorts of
they
players.
won't have enough drive to beat us in that last game, I don't think. So I'm going to go win, which is quite a way to end the season, which I believe leaves me on 12-5.
We're all in the same ballpark though. 13-4, 12-5, and 11-6 kind of range for most of it. I admit I've overstated. I have. I got a bit excited tonight, but I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to stick with that now because I've said it. So we're here, aren't we? Sorry, Cal.
I think the lowest we do go is like the lowest ballpark we'll do is 9-8, and I think we'll do better than that. But I feel like
if we only get 9 wins, it's a failure for me. I know you could still, in theory, make the playoffs with it, but I think if we get 9 wins, it's a failure based on how poor the division is.
Yeah, you've got to be winning the division, and it's not just about getting to the playoffs, it's winning the division that we haven't won in 6 years now, 6-7 years. So that's a big thing to win the division, because then even if you go and have a playoff game and you get beat, or you may have 2 playoff games and then get beat, you've got a foundation for the year after. Like, we're a winning team. This hasn't happened for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas at the moment, we're just running on fumes. But here we are. Right, I've got a few comments to pop up, and then, boys, we're going to call it a night because we've gone above and beyond again, but not for a bad reason. So, I mean, I'm not going to get hammered drunk every Sunday, but that's mainly because I have to go to work, and sometimes work is 4 hours after the game finishes. So that definitely can't happen every single weekend. I wish we weren't prime time in a selfish way, because the 6 o'clock Sunday kickoffs are absolutely fine for us, but all these 1 a.m. and stuff are absolutely ridiculous. It's awful. Paul's going 11-6. So we're, again, same ballpark. We're all there and thereabouts. A positive season, and a reasonably good positive season as well. Chaps, thank you for co-hosting as always. We will make sure to get Mark's wins and losses so we have something to compare, and we will get all of his MVPs so we can put them on a little chart. Everyone, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. There's well over 200 people been watching live on and off. Not all the time. We know we get boring sometimes. We talk too much rubbish, but that's just the nature of it. But as it stands, there's 222 people, which is not too shabby at all. The more of you that start heading over to YouTube, the better, because we can interact with you on the comments. X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, doesn't do that anymore. So it's a little bit of a pain for us. But thank you all for watching. It has been a blast. We will be back next Monday after the first game of the season with a nice little review. It's going to be a nice little wait. I've got to do this right. The camera's flipped, so it's got to be what? Nope, 1-0 Falcons. There we go. We need to get that right. 1-0 Falcons. We'll see you all next Monday. And thank you all for watching. It has been a pleasure of a night. See you later.
Yes.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye all.